Morning. Happy to see you again. Happy Friday. Big day in councils in the UK this morning. There's a lot of changes are happening around councillors and councils. So there's going to be a lot of change, I think, with what's happening with all the EV charging infrastructure that's been put in by hardworking councillors over the last few years, or not so hardworking councillors, but a lot of that infrastructure may be about to change. We're watching it all unfold. In London, a lot of the council results haven't been fully published yet. They're still being counted, but it looks like there's going to be a fair few changes around some of the hard work that's been done with EV charging infrastructure so far. So it's tough. This is a tough battle for EV charging companies and people who build infrastructure. I've watched many changes over the years with people who fought battles for keeping EVs on the road, getting new vehicles on the road and so on. And sometimes there are winners and losers. Let's hope there aren't too many losers from what's already a difficult and challenging climate in the EV space. Anyway, right, the show, let's do it. 5 things you need to know about electric cars this week. 1, BYD, now the best-selling EV brand in the UK, number 1, ahead of Tesla, ahead of BMW, ahead of VW in just over 3 years. That is a story. 2, HMRC has appealed the VAT tribunal rulings that said public charging should cost you 5% VAT, not 20%. That means the government is actively fighting to keep your charging bill higher. We're going to get into that today. 3, the UK just hit 2 million electric cars on the road, a landmark, but we're still miles off the ZEV mandate target for this year. There are consequences for that. 4, the electric car grant is back, and a lot of people still don't know about it. Up to £3,750 off, which cars qualify is what we're going to cover. And 5, the deep dive. We're going to do a deep dive on the used BMW i3, which I think is a great little car, and I remember filming it when it first came out in the UK. It's very popular in London. So production ended in 2022, and prices have dropped a long way. So is this the best value entry point for EV ownership right now, or is it a battery-shaped trap? We're going to find out. So let's get into the first segment. I'm going to come off that and share this instead so you can see it, and just change my view there so you can see it properly. Okay, BYD. Let's start with the big one. BYD is now the best-selling electric vehicle brand in the UK in 2026. Not Chinese brands collectively, BYD specifically, above Tesla, above Kia, above BMW, above Volkswagen. The numbers: 12,754 fully electric BYDs sold between January and April of this year. That's more than 7% market share. And this is only BEVs, which is battery electric vehicles, pure electric. When you add in their plug-in hybrid DMI range, the Seal U, the Seal 6, the Sea Lion 5, total new energy vehicle sales hit 26,396. That's 9.5% of the UK market. 3 years. That's all it took. And 3 years from launch to number 1 in the UK. Now, here's the thing that really jumped out. BYD has done this without being included in the UK government's electric car grant. A lot of BYD models are over the £35,000 price ceiling for the grant. They've taken the top spot among private buyers anyway. So when people are putting their own money in, not a company car, not a fleet purchase, they're choosing BYD. That tells you something about where trust in this brand has got to. The current UK lineup is 5 pure electric models: the BYD Dolphin Surf UK, that's the BYD Dolphin Surf UK, the Dolphin, the Atto 3, the Seal, and the Sea Lion 7. The BYD Atto 2 UK is coming shortly, a compact SUV that should finally get into grant territory. And there's something else worth flagging. BYD's country manager, Bono Gee, confirmed they're bringing vehicle to grid to the UK. That means your BYD doesn't just take electricity, it can give back grid support, home energy backup, the whole picture. That conversation is coming. The Denza Z, which you've seen around everywhere, and it's going to have the super fast flash charging, is also heading to the Goodwood Festival of Speed in July for its European debut. I want to go to that. 1,000 horsepower, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 2 seconds. 10% to 70% charge in 5 minutes. It costs over 100 grand. It has no practical relevance to most viewers, but I mention it because this is a company building a £100,000 supercar and a £22,000 city car at the same time, and winning on volume with the affordable end while the aspirational end builds up the brand story. That's a proper automotive company, not a startup. The broader UK electric car sales 2026 picture shows the market grew 22% year on year. So BYD hasn't just been winning market share in a flat market. They've grown in a growing market. Renault's 5s is the best-selling individual model right now. But BYD UK best-selling EV 2026 is the headline that stands. And they've only been here 3 years. Okay, we're going to go on to the next segment, which is segment 2, and that's about the VAT ruling. So this is a big one for anyone who's got no facility to charge vehicles at home, because everyone is being penalized on this, and we talk about it a lot in our shorts. I don't have off-street parking, so I'm one of those people that wants to know when the infrastructure is in the right place for us and how much it's going to cost for public EV charging. So if you haven't got a driveway, this one matters. In February, a first-tier tax tribunal ruled that public EV charging VAT UK 2026 should drop to the 5% reduced rate, same as what you pay on your home electricity. A not-for-profit charge point operator called Charge My Street had a VAT tribunal. They brought the case. They won. The tribunal agreed that electricity supplied at public chargers under 1,000 kilowatt hours per month at a single location counts as domestic use. Now, here's the maths. At the moment, you're paying roughly 20% on public charging, 20% VAT on public charging. At a typical rapid charger running at about 76p per kilowatt hour, roughly 10p of that is VAT at the higher rate. If it dropped to 5%, you'd save around 10p per kilowatt hour at a rapid charger. Over a year, driving 10,000 miles mostly on public charging, that's around £300 back in your pocket. That matters a lot, because here's the real issue. EV charging costs without driveway is the core problem here. If you have a driveway and home charger, you're charging for 7p to 9p per kilowatt hour overnight. If you don't have a driveway, you're paying 76p at a rapid charger. That's not a small gap. That's 10 times the price. And the person without the driveway is paying 4 times the VAT rate of the person with one, out on the same electricity, doing the same thing, charging their car. The tribunal called HMRC's position a strained construction of the law, their words. And the HMRC VAT appeal electric car response, they appealed it. The industry reaction has been pretty blunt. Tanya Sinclair, CEO of Electric Vehicles UK, if you're serious about EV adoption, you don't fight the ruling that would fix your most regressive charging cost. That's what she said. You let it stand. Fair Charge, who have been campaigning for years on this, said the same thing. Charge UK has been pushing hard too. In the meantime, nothing changes at the charger. Prices stay as they are while the appeal works through the courts. So the 40% of UK households without off-street parking, who are the people most dependent on public charging, who need EVs to work for them financially if they're going to switch, they keep paying the higher rate. And this comes on top of the 3p per mile road tax from April 2028. There is a pattern here. Government policy is simultaneously trying to accelerate EV adoption through grants and ZEV mandates, and creating financial barriers through road charges and this VAT fight. Those two things don't easily sit together. The practical takeaway for now, nothing changes at the pump until the appeal is resolved. But this is the most important EV policy fight going on in the UK right now. And I think it deserves more attention than it's getting. Okay, next segment. Segment 3, we're going to talk about the 2 million electric cars on the roads. Come up to that title. Okay, a milestone this week. UK 2 million electric cars 2026. We've hit it. First time ever, as of the end of April. To put that in context, at the end of 2022, there were 664,000. We've more than tripled the fleet in 3.5 years. And the market is still growing. In April 2026, 39,084 new fully electric cars were registered. Combined with plug-in hybrids, 40% of all new cars sold had a plug. That number, 40%, is genuinely significant. A few years ago, that felt like a target for 2030, but we're already here. So why is the mood cautious rather than celebratory? Because of the ZEV mandate. The ZEV mandate 2026 UK target is 33% of all new cars must be fully electric. We're running at 23.1% through the first quarter. That's a 10-point gap. And the SMMT, the trade body that represents car manufacturers, is saying we'll miss it. The ZEV mandate works with penalties. Car makers who don't hit their quota can either buy credits from car makers who've exceeded theirs, Tesla has done well out of this, or pay a fine per vehicle. At current penalty rates, that's a significant cost that gets factored into vehicle pricing. Some of that cost gets passed to consumers, some gets absorbed, but missing by 10 points at this kind of volume is not a rounding error. There's also the Electric Car Grant UK 2026 to cover here quickly. It's back, up to £3,750 off a new EV. The government has allocated £650 million, enough to subsidise around 173 cars at the full rate. The gap is £35,000 purchase price. That's the cap. That's where BYD gets squeezed out on several models. So which cars qualify for the electric car grant? The Renault 5, the Renault 4, the Citroën E63, the Fiat 600e, the Nissan Ariya, which just had a midlife refresh with V2L added, the Toyota BZ4X, and a fair few others. The Renault 5 with the 52 kilowatt-hour battery and the grant is under £20,000. That is a good modern electric car for less than 20 grand new. If you're sitting on the fence, that number is worth knowing. The grant runs until 2028-29 financial year. It's not indefinite. If you're considering a new EV and your shortlist includes grant-eligible models, this is worth acting on rather than deferring. And a quick note on the used EV market context while we're here. In 2025, 274,815 used battery electric cars were sold in the UK, a 46% increase year on year. The used EV market is growing fast, which brings me for the segment you've been waiting for. Da, da, da. This is about the used BMW i3, which one to buy. And we love it. It's got the best turning circle ever. It's like really tight, really good for city driving. Slightly weird on the back doors, but they look quirky and they're a BMW, so they've got good build quality. But let's go into it. Production ran from 2013 to 2022. Roughly 250,000 of them built worldwide. It stopped making them and prices dropped hard. And now in 2026, a used BMW i3 UK 2026 is one of the most interesting EV purchase propositions in the market, if you know what you're buying. Let me start with the price range. Right now on the UK used market, you're looking at roughly £7,400 at the bottom end. That gets you an older, higher mileage car up to around 17 grand to 18,000 for a later, lower mileage 2021 example. Auto Uncle, which aggregates live listings, shows 483 cars available right now. There's stock and there's choice. But the i3 has 3 completely different battery generations, and this is the most important thing to understand before you buy it. The early cars, the 2013 to 2016, have the 60Ah 22 kilowatt-hour battery. Official range was 80 miles. Real world was less. What car ran a real world test on a 10-year-old car recently and got 64 miles? The battery was at about 85% state of health, which is actually pretty decent for a decade-old pack. But the original range just wasn't there to begin with. The cars are very cheap, but the range is genuinely limiting. Car city territory only. Then there's the 2017 to 2018 generation. 94Ah, 33 kilowatt hours, official range 121 miles. Better, but still not what you call a motorway car. But for mostly city and commuter driving, it's workable. And then the 2019 to 2022 cars. The BMW i3 120AH range real world is what you're after. 42 kilowatt hours, official range 165 miles. BMW said 160 is realistic. These are the ones I'd look at. They're the sweet spot, but they're pricey. So the question is, what are you paying for a late spec i3? For a 2019 to 2021 car in decent condition, you're looking at between £12,000 to £17,000. That's a BMW carbon fiber passenger cell, rear wheel drive, instant torque, proper iDrive infotainment, heated seats as standard, all for less than 15 grand. It's a good deal if the battery is healthy. And that's the crucial bit, battery health. Quick drink, excuse me. The 2026 data on i3 degradation shows a split. Cars that were charged sensibly, not hammered on rapid DC charges, kept in temperate climates, they're holding up well. The 120 packs are showing around 5 to 6% degradation per year on average. So a 2020 car, 6 years old, could still be at 70 to 80% state of health. That means roughly 115 to 130 miles of real world range. It's still usable. But cars that got a lot of DC rapid charging, or that sat idle for long periods, or that were in hot climates, degradation can be significantly worse. The same 2017 94 car can show anywhere from 65 to 85% state of health depending on its history. What you need before you buy: 1. Demand a BMW i3 battery health check. Any independent EV specialist can run this with BMW ISTA-D diagnostic tool. Don't buy without it. There are also independent companies now that are beginning to do proper battery health checks for you, and they're pretty good. They'll do real world driving assessments. If you can get a test drive that's long enough and you can check the battery state of health at the beginning and at the end of a long enough test drive where you get to decharge the battery a bit, you get a really good test done on it. 2. Check the back dashboard. The i3 shows battery health in bars on the instrument cluster. 12 is full, 9 to 10 is acceptable in an older car, 8 and below, walk away or negotiate hard. 3. Check the charging history. If the previous owner was plugging into rapid chargers every day for their commute, the battery will show it. And then 4, think about what you actually need it for. This is a BMW i3 buy guide UK answer. If it's a city car, a second car, a commuter, this thing is remarkable. Quiet, quick, easy to park, cheap to charge. If you need to do regular long motorway trips as a solo driver, this probably isn't the right car. And don't entirely trust BMW's internal systems for measuring battery health or any other used vehicle. It's best to get an independent assessment for the battery health check, state of health check, just so you know that you're getting factual information on it. Because sometimes maybe it can be dressed up a little bit. I'm not saying BMW do that, but it does happen. And if you're asking BMW i3 how many miles can I actually expect, the honest answer on the 120 car in good health is 115 to 150 miles real world. That's enough for most commuters twice over. One more thing worth flagging: there's also the REX, the range extender version, a tiny 2-cylinder petrol engine that acts as a generator. The REX, or the Rex, adds a small fuel tank and buys you an extra 80 odd miles when the battery runs out. These cars are more complex, slightly heavier, and a range extender wasn't designed for sustained motorway speeds. It's a rescue engine, not a proper hybrid, but for some buyers, the extra peace of mind is worth it. It's going to be slightly harder to fix because it's got more work to do, but it does give you that peace of mind. The bottom line on the i3 is it's a genuinely brilliant city car and commuter car at current prices. Buy the 2019 on 120 spec if you can. Get a battery check done and make sure you've got someone to plug in at home or nearby. This isn't a car you want to be rapid charging every day. The rapid charging in the vehicle is limited, I think, to 50 kilowatt DC. I might be wrong about that, but it's not anywhere near some of the modern cars in terms of rapid charging. So keep that in mind. If you're going to drive in the city, perfect for London, quite small to park. Other than the back doors, which have, if you want kids in and out of it all day long, you've got to open the front doors to let the back doors open, which can be a bit of a pain. Okay. I'm going to just come back to the main screen and go on to our next story. In fact, let's get the charging rates up again. So there we go. Quick one to close on the main stories because the headline sounds better than the reality. Charge UK published an analysis this week showing that for most charging scenarios, running an EV on the public network is now cheaper than petrol or diesel. And that's broadly true. If you do 80% of your charging at home on an off-peak tariff and at 20% on public rapid public chargers, your cost is around 6p per mile. Petrol is running at 17p per mile right now. That is a real saving. But the only scenario where an EV costs more than petrol is if you're exclusively relying on rapid and ultra rapid chargers. And who does that? The people who don't have a driveway. The exact people we were talking about in segment 2. The same people HMRC is fighting to keep at 20% VAT. The ZapMap data on this is stark. Standard public chargers, 54p per kilowatt hour average, 16p per mile. Ultra rapid, 76p average, 23p per mile. Home on a standard tariff, about 25p per kilowatt hour, 7p per mile. Home on an EV tariff overnight, 7p to 9p per kilowatt hour, about 2p per mile. So that's 23p per mile on ultra rapid, down to 2p per mile if you charge at home. It's kind of a difference. So yes, EVs are cheaper to run for most people, but the 40% without driveways are still navigating a cost structure that makes it harder to justify the switch. That's the story behind the story. Okay, just going to have 4 questions to answer here. On BYD, is BYD actually reliable now? I keep seeing great specs, but I'm worried about build quality and support if something goes wrong. It is a fair concern, and it was more valid 2 years ago than it is now. BYD has 125 UK dealerships. The Atto 3, their first UK car, has been on the road here long enough to have some real ownership data. The general picture from owners is better than the skeptics expected. It's not perfect. The infotainment on early Atto 3s had some quirks, but the cars themselves are holding up. The bigger unknown is parts availability at a non-franchise independent in 5 years. That's worth thinking about if you like to service outside of main dealers. For most mainstream buyers buying new or nearly new right now, I don't think the reliability concern should be the deal breaker. Should I wait for the electric car grant situation to get clearer before buying? The grant is live now. The list of eligible cars is confirmed and the budget is allocated until 2028-29. If your car is on the list and the numbers work for you, I wouldn't wait. Policy can change. The grant has been withdrawn and reinstated before. Take it whilst it's there. On the VAT appeal, is there any chance HMRC loses and the prices actually drop at the pump soon? There is a real chance. The first tier tribunal ruling was pretty definitive. The judge used the phrase stained construction about HMRC's position, but appeals take time. If HMRC loses at the upper tribunal as well, prices would need to be adjusted across the network and it would still take months to feed through. We're not talking about a change you'll see this summer, but it is a live battle worth following. On the used BMW i3, should I worry about parts availability now production has ended? The i3 has been out of production since 2022 and it's been replaced by our new modern i3, but BMW still supports it at the moment. Parts availability through BMW main dealers is fine for now. The concern is more in 5 or 6 years when independent EV specialists who aren't BMW trained might struggle with the high voltage side. The carbon fiber body is also more expensive to repair after a shunt than conventional steel. Get a pre-purchase inspection. Buy from a dealer who can show a full service history and factor repair costs into your insurance budget. There's been a lot of i3s on many of the forums and you're seeing a lot of very low prices for them, which is why it's an interesting purchase if you're looking at used EVs at this stage. I think it's a really great buy for the city. Be careful in winter and be careful with low range on those early models. That's the advice from us. Okay, that's it for this week. BYD at number 1, which is amazing. They've done it very quickly inside 3 years, which we know these Chinese car brands are doing extremely well here in the UK, and EVs are coming, like it or not. They're kind of coming in force now. It's really hitting prime time, if you'll excuse the pun. HMRC fighting the VAT ruling. Will it go to 5%? Let's certainly hope so on public charging, because if there was parity between home charging and public charging, that would be a lot fairer for a lot of people. And a lot of people out there are avoiding EVs like the plague because they don't think they can charge them. And understandably, there's lots of barriers to entry. We do a lot of work around kind of brand analysis, because I work in advertising and marketing and know a lot about that. So understanding intelligence and around why the consumer's buying what they buy is really interesting, and seeing the reasons that the questions that they have and what they're driving forwards is really interesting to us. And we're looking at a lot of brand intelligence around EV charging at the moment and why people are doing what they do. So getting that public VAT charging rate down is absolutely critical, I think. And if it can be managed, that would be really good, because it's just not fair at the moment. And a lot of people know that and believe it. 2 million cars on the road. Yeah, that was a big one, but still missing the mandate. And the used BMW i3, a proper city EV for well under 15 grand if you pick the right spec. So look out for the right car. If you want the cheapest public charging rates every month, the best lease deals we find, and a weekly digest of actually what's worth knowing, that's the Primetime EV Club, because we're talking to you guys each week, and we talk within the club around EV charging rates and who the best suppliers are and what's going on out there. And we're beginning to answer a lot of questions, and we're building a lot of data around what you guys want from EVs. So through the podcast that we distribute after this live and everything else, there's a lot of data coming out around EV charging, and it's useful. It's free to join the club. So just sign up and we will send you updates on the best charging rates at that stage in the UK. And you can ask questions there as well that we can put into the show each week as we build this. So the link's in the description. It's primetimeev.com/club if you look at the website, or you can just email us at club@primetimeev.com. and I'll get you added to the list. The show is on YouTube and Facebook. This goes straight to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. I will see you at next Friday at 11 a.m. Have a great weekend. Good luck with the council results and take care. Thank you very much. Cheers.